Good stuff. So let's get into it. I'm Jethro, and talking about South African hockey, and we obviously the best team in Africa, hands down. But we want to take it a level higher. Where does it start? Does it start at school level? Do clubs need to be a bit more worked on? Where can we improve? Where's the starting point?
It's definitely a tough question because there's a lot of different dynamics that set us up in a little bit of a bad position. I think obviously if we look at our schools hockey, I think our schools hockey is probably one of the best structured systems in the world. I think we've got such a good dynamic of how we play against the best schools against each other often, and then from there we select the best guys to play provincial hockey, which is probably the best school kids that we can get at an IPT. So I think our school structure is really, really good. But again, then it comes to your point of what are we doing at club hockey that gets us to follow up after the school. And I think that's where we maybe lack a little bit. I do like there's a few initiatives that are taking place at the moment with the PHL, the Varsity Cup, and events like that, or that are assisting a little bit post schooling. But again, it's just the drop-off is quite big, especially straight after school. Lots of kids figure out that hockey's not going to pay the bills at the end of the day, so they decide to go and do other things. And I think we lose a lot of strong players, especially the girls. I think we see a lot of girls very interested in hockey at school level, but then once they get post matric, after the exams in matric, they then they forget about hockey and they worry about the important things a little bit, I think, in life. And so if we can fix a few things, I think club hockey or at least something around that space that can get us to play a little bit more of high level competition, and then coming maybe international hockey. I think when we look at South Africa, we're very unfortunate in the way where we position in the world. It's not easy for us to play against top level opposition from Europe and obviously Australia and New Zealand, that area, just because of travel and expense that gets us there. So I think we got a bit of a strange dynamic when it comes to hockey, but what cricket and rugby and football have done really well to make sure that they can still access those channels, even though it's maybe a financial assistance that they have to get them there. We tend to a little bit battle on that part. But I think if we can get our club structure right, especially if we can get a national league or some sort of structure that allows a lot of players to play more hockey at that level, it will be probably a better chance for us to get better.
Definitely, because I believe the PHL, there's something good there, and they've got to keep working at it. And varsity sport should always be something that's attractive and people want to see it. They should be. So I think let's hope it's just a matter of time when it really gets proper momentum and people are saying, right, this is it. I want to get involved. The more numbers, the better. So it's a matter of time.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think I agree with your points of PHL and varsity sports. They both already, if you look at all the franchise events and the varsity cup events for all the other sports, you can see how it's grown. I mean, athletics has been incredible. Football's been incredible. Rugby's obviously been the start and the pinnacle of varsity sports. I mean, it's crazy to see how much talent we have in this country, and we just need to, for the hockey aspect, is just make sure we can put it all together and get a right outcome out of it.
It's true. I want to touch on Europe in a bit because you did mention that. But before we go, I just want to touch a little bit more on Africa and the African Cup of Nations in 2021, if I'm not mistaken. South Africa looking to make it. I think it's about 8 gold medals in a row now, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think we like you said, we're very fortunate that when we play in Africa's championship, we're very competitive, and we're probably the strongest team, both the guys and the girls. I mean, you look at the ladies, I think their closest rival, I mean, they're still beating by a handful of goals, and I think it's exciting for them because they'll go to an event and be the favorites and be very competitive, where we've got a bit of a challenge with sometimes a Ghana, sometimes a Kenya come up and show really that they are there to fight and play African hockey. I know it's a different comment to say, but they do play a different style of hockey. But then Egypt is always our main challenger. they're also going through, I think, a bit of a dynamic now with a lot of their older players are just reaching their limit on what they can play and continue to play. So it will be interesting to see if they go through a new cycle of players. But yeah, I'm going to touch wood, but we haven't performed badly at an African Cup yet. So hopefully we can make it 8 in a row. I think that is correct. But it's going to be a challenge because that'll lead into a World Cup in 2023. And again, we do tend to go to the World Cup and be competitive there. So it'll be quite nice to see if we can get the group together. Yeah.
Great stuff. Really, really great. And then you touched a bit on overseas teams, European teams to be specific, and recently played against Germany. And I think it's great. And as you know, the more exposure you get, the better. Is it purely down to a financial thing where South Africa could play against more European countries? Or is it just lack of time? What is the sort of fundamental issue there?
No, I've got to say, I don't think we actually have much of an issue. Obviously, for us to go over to Europe, that's where the concern is. There's a lot of, obviously, financial concerns about trying to take a squad of 24, 25 over. But nations are pretty keen to come to South Africa. I think we were very fortunate a couple of years ago that Cape Town was the hub that really wanted to take hockey and bring nations to it. So like the Hollands, the Belgians, the Germans, the English, they all really wanted to come to Cape Town because obviously the summer series is really something really good there. We've started a summer series now in Durban, in Ballito. So it's been something that's maybe just taken a little bit of time to get the right combinations and maybe attract more teams to come. But at this stage, it's an exciting period of the year, especially January, February with the summer series. I mean, a lot of European teams just want to come to South Africa. So there's not really an issue on financials and structuring. It's just maybe putting it down and saying this is who we want, and hopefully we can push to get those teams to come out to South Africa. I think initially this January and February period, we had about 5 or 6 nations that were interested in coming to South Africa. Unfortunately, we only managed to get USA and Germany at the time. And obviously, we want to play more European nations. So hopefully, if we keep the relations going, we can get the Hollands and the Belgians and the Irish and the French all back and coming to play on South African soil, especially over in the summer series situation. Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. And I really hope it comes to be, because you start getting those fixtures and it just starts growing more of a hunger and a love for the game. And then before you know it, you've got the numbers to support in terms of, like we spoke about earlier, about children or students saying, I'm not so sure. Well, if you get a chance to play against these other countries, it's fantastic. They'll want to be there. So,
we were very fortunate when we played against the German international side now in February. I think we had a lot of the guys that had started their careers or getting first caps. It was quite a nice experience to give that test against the German side. So exactly how you said, the younger guys are getting the opportunity now to play against Germany, which maybe makes a little bit of like it filters down to their friends, to their mates, to the school kids that came and watched. That actually, if we just stick it out and we play and we be competitive and we maybe have an opportunity to play for South Africa, we can actually play against Germany, and which is probably something exciting, I think.
Wow, that's brilliant. And talking about exciting, it seems like there's lots of good events coming up. We touched on the African Cup of Games, but there's obviously the Commonwealth Games, there's the Olympic Games, there's the Hockey World Cup. Which one is your favorite and why? And it looks like it's going to be a busy year next year for you.
Yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one because Commonwealth Games is as close as you can get to Olympics, obviously without the big nations. I really enjoyed my first one in Glasgow in 2014, and then we went to Oz in 2018, and that was incredible. I do think those events are really cool because the multi-discipline sports come and bring everybody together, and then you start connecting with all these nice people. I do think that is one of the better tournaments that I've experienced, so I think that would be up there. But again, you can't take a World Cup away. I think when everybody's focused on one single sport, one single event, and it's just crazy. Like, it was such a good experience to go to India to play against India, because then you get the home nation supporting their team and you playing against them. I mean, that's just something you don't experience. Obviously, as a South African, to have 1,000 people at a game we're actually excited about, but when you get 15,000 people watching a hockey match, it changes a little bit. I know we're talking differently because cricket and hockey, and I mean cricket and rugby and football get different numbers, but for hockey it's quite a big statement. So it's difficult to say which which event is the one to go to. But again, a Commonwealth Games is really cool because of the multi-sport discipline. I would really like to go to Olympics. I know the change and the delay by a year is just it's put a setback on a couple of guys, but I would really like to go and experience one of those to see what the major event like that is like. I mean, that is the pinnacle of hockey for us. To attend the Olympic Games. So yeah, hopefully we get our opportunity next year. But as you say, there's so much hockey in the next 2 or 3 years. It's going to be crazy to see where we're at after that. And then maybe if we have this conversation again, I'll let you know which one was the one to go to.
That's a good idea. We need to do that then. That's brilliant. Talking about a lot of different events, indoor hockey is growing in South Africa quite rapidly. A lot of the schools have embraced it, and there's lots of different tournaments going on. That's been one of your passions, indoor hockey. You've done well at it in your career.
Yeah, I think, Ryan, the interesting thing is I've come more from an indoor background, because when I grew up in Benoni, outdoor hockey was played on grass, and we didn't have an Astro out there, so I played as best as I could on grass. But indoor was still, there was quite a lot of interest, especially because we had a couple of guys that were in the national setup at the time in Benoni, that were assisting and getting the game and improving the game. But with PSI and the way that schools have embraced indoor, it's been incredible. And yeah, I've got a lot of interest for indoor. I think it's quite interesting just going to the recent Indoor World Cup. A lot of the guys are still like in their late 30s, maybe mid 30s, still playing the game at a high level, and that still, I think, excites a few of us. So like a lot of us are getting close to the mid and early 30s. That it still seems to be like you can still play the game. So I like indoor a lot. So but the good thing about indoor and outdoor, there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, the game isn't drastically different, but it complements each other in a lot of ways. So I think for me at this present moment, indoor and outdoor are just a collection that is helping me be better at hockey as a whole. And there's a lot of interest, and I'm trying to give back as much as I can to obviously the indoor game, because it's growing as it is, as you said, quite rapidly, and exciting times for the game. I think especially with the way that PSI and the schools are really approaching indoor.
Oh, that's great. That's really, really great. And then, if I'm not mistaken, Indoor Hockey World Cup in Belgium next year. You keen to get stuck in there, represent South Africa again? Looks like it'll be a great tournament.
Yeah, again, I think what's nice about the previous question about which event you want to go to an Indoor World Cup in Europe is just, again, something that's totally different. I think they take that game also quite seriously. A lot of their guys, and also maybe another question to pose is how many guys will be affected with indoor and outdoor. With the Europeans, it's going to be quite a lot will be affected because of obviously the Olympics. So it's going to be also an interesting dynamic, but the event itself is incredible. I think Belgium are really good at hosting events. They've hosted really big FIH World Leagues and World Series finals and stuff like that, where they've got like 4,000, 5,000 people going there. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like for an indoor event, especially because it's quite a nice central point. If you look at all the different dynamics coming from the east and west and north, that people come and watch. So but the reality is it's like 6 months down the line. It's quite scary to think that it's just almost around the corner. So there's a lot of work to go still for the SA men's indoor team to get things together and probably our final selection and get the guys keen to be in Belgium, I think.
That's brilliant. So lots to look forward to. And talking about things that you've looked forward to, it's been over 100 caps for you for South Africa. Brilliant effort. Not too many players get to say that. But when it got closer to the mark of attaining 100 caps, what was going sort of through your mind? Are you thinking, right, I've just got to take each game as it comes? Or was it just, I've got to get to 100 caps? What was sort of your progression towards that?
Well, interesting conversation. We'll talk about, because I have this debate with my father a lot. My initial stages, I only really got given opportunity to play hockey quite late. So at 23, I got my first cap. So I was almost in a position to say, do you want to continue with hockey and see if you want to play for South Africa or not, or make the decision not to? And then I got to 23 caps after a year and a half. And I was thinking to my father, are we going to have this debate about, are we going to get another one or we're not? So all we said is like at that point, after 23 caps, it was a bonus because at least I got my opportunity to say I can play. I've played against quite a few nations. I've obviously experienced that. So our conversation is every time that we have a debate about how many games we've played, we always start 23 caps, and anything after that was a bonus. But yeah, it was interesting because when we got to the French series, there was a couple of players getting close to milestones. I think there was 2 guys getting their 50th cap. One of the French guys got their 100th cap, and Lance Lowe got his 100th cap in the French series. And it was quite interesting because it was a series just before the World Cup, and I was on 99 when we finished the series. So it was like quite an interesting. It was quite an interesting position to be in when you've experienced guys that got their milestones, and you were either in the World Cup to get your 100th cap, or you weren't in the World Cup, and then you had to wait your turn to see what the next one. So coming back to maybe your first point is my excitement to get to 100. I actually didn't think I was going to get there, especially in my early days. But then when I got to like the French series, I was like, maybe I'm not going to get there because you don't know what selection and don't know all that. But then to get it was something incredible. I got it very fortunately against India in India at the first game of the World Cup. So it was one of those milestones that it just couldn't get better with the cherry on top to play India in India. I think that was unbelievable. So I didn't expect to ever get close to the amount of games I've played, and I hope to play more. I've always been like, I think the conversation I started with is when we got to 23 caps, at least I said, well, I've played my fair share. Anything else is pretty much a bonus. And it's just been like that. I think I've tried to keep myself in the squad as best as possible, as fit as possible, and helping the team as openly and honestly trying to get them going forward. And so it's been an exciting time. I think thank you for mentioning it because not many guys actually have a conversation about how many caps and representing your country and getting to 100. Because I think, like you're saying, there's not many that get there. And I've been very fortunate with the guys that I've played with. A lot of guys were in and around the 100th cap. So you sort of understand what it does mean to a lot of guys. So, thank you for the question.
No, it's all good. It's all good because it also ties into a thing that I believe in quite a lot, and it's passion. You've obviously got to be passionate to get to where you are, and I think it's in terms of indoor and outdoor, you've approached it with the same amount of passion, if I'm right in saying that. And I think if that's where I think a lot of players want to get to, that's the underlying thing is you got to have pure passion to achieve at the highest level.
Yeah, and I agree with that. What's nice is our squad. Both our squads have got a lot of that at the moment, which I think maybe sometimes in the past has been a little bit I'm not going to say haphazard, but like there's been a little bit of like disjoint in a lot of the guys. Some guys are like saying, well, at least I'm playing for South Africa. Some guys are like, well, I've played for a long time. I'm just here to just keep going, keep ticking it over. But now I think with the squad that we have, we've got a lot of guys, exactly how you say it, with a lot of passion, a lot of keenness to get the game going, especially in the right direction. And we've got coaching staff that are doing all the same things. So it's exciting. I think it's an exciting time for hockey in South Africa, especially with, like you're saying, with these events that we've got to. And a lot of the guys going in the same direction. So maybe we'll get a decent result, and maybe somewhere down the line we'll create some history, which I think SA hockey needs, especially over the last 5 or 6 years where there hasn't been too much glory. We need something to create that, and I think you're right. Passion is definitely one of them. We've got a lot of it in the national side at the moment.
It's good, and like you said earlier, this country is filled with talent. We've got no excuse to say, oh, this, that, or the other. It's just passion and hard work. And it'll be good to see how we're progressing. It's very, very good. So we chatted there briefly about indoor and outdoor. What do you think they can learn from each other? So what can indoor learn from outdoor and vice versa to improve the game?
Yeah, what I think indoor can learn from outdoor is obviously how we've managed to do the structuring of events and leagues and formats and competitions. Because I think what tends to happen with indoor is we just get a group of guys together, we play a little bit of a tournament, we say, well done, congratulations to the winners, congratulations to a group that gets selected, and then we see each other maybe once again in a while. Where outdoor, we've got a nice plan. We know that we've got 3 events in the year, we've got 3 international events in the year, we've got camps happening in between. So indoor needs a lot of maybe structuring where we can get a lot of that together, which I think the conversation that we're having at the moment is really aligning it to get a lot of more structure and events and planning in place, because I think we must change the mindset of just pitching up and playing and really getting things together at last minute, where I think outdoor can learn from indoor with the way that the cultures with the guys, especially the guys. I'm not sure much about the girls. Well, I understand about the girls because they've got a really nice environment going with the indoor, but I'm not sure what the outdoor program's like. But the men really need to try and get their cultures and their connections and the people wanting to do things as a whole. I think sometimes with the outdoor program, we sort of go in a little bit different directions. I think I'm not saying that the European or the South African guys were better than the opposite, but there is a little bit of a disjoint between the connections between the Europeans and the South African-based players. And maybe what's so nice about indoor, we've got a lot of South African-based players that then always are seeing each other, always connecting, where maybe outdoor needs to find a dynamic where we can get that right. And I think that's where the outdoor will win. And if the indoor follows a little bit of the outdoor structure, they'll win. So both sports will be in a very good space going forward. I think if they just learn off each other in that regard, yeah.
Yeah, and I think you used a critical word there, culture. And a lot of the people identify their sport based on that. You talk about South Africa's got a cricket culture because of some of the legends that they've produced in rugby, things like that. So that word is critical. Yeah, and I think a bit more emphasis perhaps could be put on that to develop hockey. Yeah, cultures, that's a very good word you've used there. Very good.
Culture I think we tend to just sometimes only really focus on a national team, trying to get their culture right. Maybe what's so been quite positive with indoor is I don't think we've actually really worried about a national team. We've actually just got the base right. We've got the culture right in the base with the schools and the PSIs and the events like that have really got indoor such a good vibe, such a good spark, very friendly. Everybody is connected with each other, and then it's filtering into the national team at the moment, where we need maybe our club structure for outdoor to be maybe the starting point that can then get the culture right to then push us a little bit further in getting the right system for the national team and the right guys following the right frame of mind. And I think maybe that's where it needs to start. I'm not sure if it's correct, but hopefully it's a direction that can help.
No, that's brilliant. Jethro, as we sort of draw to a close now, I think an important question for all the viewers and even for a person like me, how can we support South African hockey in general? What can we do to grow it and help make it strong?
Yeah, I think non-hockey people are maybe unaware of the sport itself. I think I'm dealing with quite a lot of kids and parents that have actually have never really taken on hockey and really looked at hockey at the way that when they spend their time in hockey, then they start saying, why didn't I get involved in this quite a while ago? So I think the dynamic there needs to be a bit bigger. I think we need to try and see if we can give the awareness of what hockey's about and how hockey's played, especially to the people that don't know the game. I know our rural areas and areas like that will be a bit of a challenge, but it's to expose people to hockey a little bit more. And it's quite interesting. A little town like Belito that has had one little event has already gone and sparked their parents, their kids, their cousins, their brothers, all to be really involved in hockey and move it forward. And a lot of people out there don't really know about the game. So now all of a sudden that has already created a spark. I know for a fact Cape Town's got a really good hockey base and there's a lot of good hockey culture there, but it's to get around the little bit of the exterior areas and towns, and like Somerset West is also growing, and Stellenbosch is obviously with the Marties is growing, but then areas around that to get a little bigger. And Joburg again is also quite a big space, and I think we just sort of lack that hockey culture that gets out to the people that are maybe with the financials to assist us, but just to see what it's about. And I think maybe that's where we lack a little bit. We don't really give the exposure and the awareness of the game that we're supposed to. And I think that's maybe where we're a bit short. And we haven't really done it from top down. Maybe we've done it at the bottom up, and then we're losing guys post-school, losing girls post-school, and that's maybe something we need to look into. It's not difficult to change because I think there's a lot of people that will want hockey to go in the right direction. So, yeah, hopefully we can create the awareness. I think a major event, if we can do well there, will spark a little bit more interest, and then we can just filter in with the people below and around. Could have been interesting if we hosted the Commonwealth Games in 2022 in Durban.
Sure.
Could have been interesting because I think Durban, as we know, has got quite a good hockey culture, same as Cape Town. So I think that would have been an interesting dynamic to see if we did that event, to see what would have happened after that. But again, it's just down to getting hockey and getting more awareness out there. As best as possible, I suppose.
Brilliant. Well, Jethro, it'll be keen to see how things go. And as we hopefully get over this virus sooner than we hope. See you guys back in training and getting on top of things and getting stuck in and making most of everything that you guys get involved in. So it's great. Thanks so much for your time, Jethro.
No, Ryan, thank you. Again, we like I said, we don't expose hockey particularly well, and maybe this is a good starting point for this chapter, especially during lockdown period. And then just exciting period for hockey, and I thank you for the opportunity. And maybe like I said, after all these events, we have another chat and we let each other know how things work.
We've got to do that. We've definitely got to do that.
Thank you.
Look after yourself, Jethro.
You too. Thank you, Ryan.
Cheers, man. Cheers. All right.